I'm almost finished here. I just want to make sure I cover the things that I'm in doubt about or misunderstood.
Let me make one point. I did not have a driver assigned to me at education. There was a carpool at the Department of Education. I had a driver assigned to me as chairman of EEOC. After I arrived at EEOC, the car that I had, it was a Fiat Spider, was recalled. And
Was what, I'm sorry?
was recalled.
Oh, recalled.
Defective.
Recalled?
Yes.
Oh, because it's defective. I see.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
And,
Fiat will appreciate that.
and I used the money to pay my son's tuition, so I didn't have a car.
Gotcha. At education?
At EEOC.
At EEOC.
And I subsequently, I believe, in 1983, got a car a year or so later.
Tell me, if you will, of another area where you both agree is that occasionally, or at least on one or more occasions, you had lunch with Professor Hill in the cafeteria.
I don't think I said that. I just...
No, I think she said, I'm not sure what
yeah,
you said.
I don't think I said that. I don't recall ever having lunch with her in the cafeteria.
I see.
I would rarely at the Department of Ed... I almost never at EEOC went to the cafeteria with the exception of breakfast. That may not have been a good thing, but I rarely went there in the early years. In the later years...
at EEOC?
At EEOC. In the later years, I went more frequently.
Did you ever have breakfast with her at EEOC in the cafeteria?
No, not to my knowledge. I'm trying to finish up with education.
I'm sorry.
At the Department of Education, my habit for eating lunch usually consisted, and I'm giving my normal pattern. My normal pattern was to work out at the NASA gym at noon, and then to run, and then to grab on takeout, or have my secretary grab takeout and eat at my desk. That was my normal pattern. I rarely remember eating at the Department of Education cafeteria.
Okay.
That does not mean I didn't. It's just wasn't.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Were there other... Did you find yourself offering Professor Hill, let me back up, the one or two or three occasions that you drove Professor Hill drove her home, in which you went into her home, into her apartment to have a Coke or continue a debate, were they all at education, or did any of them also occur at EEOC?
To my knowledge, it only occurred at education because it was very convenient for me. The car was parked right outside of my office and easy just to drive over and drop her off.
Right. Now, are there other employees who you would find yourself, this other person who you had more access to you at EEOC, the one going to night school or law school or the bar exam? I apologize, I forget the name. Were you ever in a position to offer her a ride home?
Her husband worked at the agency, so they commuted together.
I see.
And that was not a problem. I have, over time, with other members of my staff, dropped them off someplace if they needed it, at the metro station, or if I was headed in the same direction.
Judge, there's been a lot of reference to the telephone logs, not so much going through it with you, but that went through in detail with Professor Hill. Do you have the original telephone logs by any chance?
I have the originals in my chambers, yes.
Yeah, okay. Because EEOC doesn't have them, and Miss Holt, nor Miss Holt. So, but you have the originals.
I have the originals in my chambers. I was advised, I believe, and I could be wrong, that those were my property. when I left the EEOC.
I'm not suggesting they're not. I'm just wondering where they are, that's all. Well, Judge, sure, I'll be happy to. That's all. I've used up enough time. And I may have a few more questions, again, as I digest this, but thank you very much. I yield to the ranking member who indicates he has a question.
Mr. Chairman, in my opening statement, I appointed Senator Hatch and Senator Spector to question the witnesses. However, I reserve the right, if I saw fit now and then, to ask a question. I do care to ask a question this time. Judge, we've had your testimony, and we have had Ms. Hill's testimony. Some of the press have asked me outside, and some people too, what was the motivation? This question was raised by Senator Heffernan earlier, and Senator Biden touched on it. The motivation for these charges. In other words, why did she make these charges? Now, in talking with several people, some of them the press and other people, various reasons have been assigned. I just want to ask you if you care to comment on any of them. One is she failed to get a promotion under you. Another is because you didn't date her, she felt rejected. Another is she said in her own statement to the FBI about differences in political philosophy. Another is stated by the dean of the law school, Charles A. Cothe, under whom she taught at the Oral Roberts University Law School. He made this short paragraph, and it covers that. It says, I've come to know Clarence Thomas quite intimately over the last 7 years and have observed him in his relationship with members of his staff as well as his conduct at social gatherings. And never once was there any hint of unacceptable conduct with respect to women. In fact, I have never heard him make a coarse remark or engage in any off-color conversation. And he makes this statement, I find the references to the alleged sexual harassment not only unbelievable, but preposterous. I am convinced that such is a product of fantasy. And I've had several other people to mention that as a possible reason. Then there's a fifth reason that has been mentioned by someone, is instability. She was unstable. Now those things have come to me from other people, and I just want to ask you if you care to comment on any of those.
Senator, I don't know what the motivation is. And as I indicated, any of those may or may not be correct. I can't speculate. But I think that the appropriate individuals to ask that are the staffers who were involved in leaking this information and who made contacts with her.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
I understand now that you still have time, so I don't know who you wish to
I'm happy to
yield
defer
to.
the balance of my time to Senator Spector.
Senator Spector has the remainder of this half hour.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Thomas, at the start of my participation in today's hearings, I repeat what I said yesterday, that I do not view this as an adversary proceeding, and I do not represent anyone in this proceeding except the people of Pennsylvania who elected me. I took on the job of questioning at the request of Senator Thurmond, the ranking Republican, but that is not intended by me to mean that I'm taking sides. The questioning yesterday of Professor Hill was obviously difficult from many, many points of view. And I attempted with her, as I have attempted with you during the earlier part of these proceedings, to be scrupulously polite and professional and non-argumentative. And the purpose of my questioning her and the purpose of the round that I'm about to undertake with you is to deal with the issue of credibility. We have a situation here where many have characterized it as two very believable witnesses. And I had searched for a long while to see if there was a way to reconcile the testimony here so that it would be possible to believe both of the critical witnesses. And that has not been possible to do. And the next step, as I have seen it, is to try to make an analysis on credibility from what we have. And it would be fine to go out and conduct a very extensive investigation, but we have given a charge here from last Tuesday to come to a conclusion so the Senate can vote on this matter by this coming Tuesday, and we're trying to do that. And in the questions that I'm about to ask you, which relate to Professor Hill's testimony yesterday, it is not with any intention of impugning Professor Hill at all, but in an effort to see what indicators there are as to credibility here. And the problem is a hard one because none of us wants to discourage women from coming forward with charges of sexual harassment. And I've been working for the past year and a half to get a civil rights bill which would improve the issue for women on sexual harassment with the fellow sitting behind you, Senator Danforth. And it is obviously true that this hearing has raised the consciousness of America on this issue of sexual harassment, but the generalizations have to be put aside. We have to make a determination as to whether you did or did not engage in the kind of conduct which is being charged. And with that a brief introduction, what I would like to cover with you in this round relates to questions on credibility on four specific subjects. First, the USA article. Second, her move from education to EEOC. Third, her testimony on not documenting the alleged comments. And fourth, the inferences on credibility arising from the telephone logs. The issue of the article in USA Today, I think, is a very compelling one because I believe, and I'm going to ask you about this, that Professor Hill testified in the morning and demolished her testimony in the afternoon. And what I want to examine with you for the next few minutes is an extremely serious question as to whether Professor Hill's testimony in the morning was or was not perjury. And I do not make that statement lightly. But we are searching here for what happened. And nobody was present with a man and a woman when this tragedy arose. And the quality of her testimony and the inferences are very significant on the underlying question as to credibility. And I'm going to read you extensive extracts from the testimony, which I reread this morning. And I think it ought to be noted that we proceed here on a very short timetable. Senator Thurman asked me to undertake this job on Wednesday, and I started on it with Thursday, and we're in hearings on Friday, and we're reading overnight text this morning. And the start of it was my question to Professor Hill about the USA article on October 9th, quote, Anita Hill was told by Senate staffers her signed affidavit alleging sexual harassment by Clarence Thomas would be the instrument that would quietly and behind the scenes would force him to withdraw his name. Now, I'm about to go through the transcript where I asked Professor Hill about this repeatedly. And at one point, she consulted her attorney. And throughout an extensive series of questions yesterday morning, flatly denied that any Senate staffer had told her that her coming forward would lead to your withdrawal. And in the afternoon, she flatly changed that by identifying a Senate staffer who she finally said told her that she was told that if she came forward, you would withdraw or might withdraw your nomination. The transcript, which is prepared overnight, does not reveal the part where she consulted with her attorney. But I asked my staffers to review the tape because I recollected that, and they did find the spot, which I shall refer to, but I want to make that plain that it is not in the written transcript. I start, Judge Thomas, at page 79 of the record, where I question Professor Hill. The USA Today reported on October 9th, quote, Anita Hill was told by Senate staffers her signed affidavit alleging sexual harassment by Clarence Thomas would be the instrument that would quietly and behind the scenes would force him to withdraw his name. I'm not reading all of it because I can't in the time we have here, but if anybody disagrees with anything I read, they're at liberty to add whatever they choose. On page 80, question. Did anybody ever tell you that by providing the statement that there would be a move to request Judge Thomas to withdraw his nomination? Ms. Hill, I don't recall any story about using this to press anyone. Later on page 80, Ms. Hill, quote, I don't recall anything being said about him being pressed to resign. Page 81, Senator Specter, well, aside from, quote, quietly and behind the scenes pressing him to withdraw, any suggestion that just the charges themselves in writing would result in Judge Thomas withdrawing, going away? Ms. Hill, I don't recall that at all. No. Skipping ahead to page 82. This is the middle of one of my questions. You have testified with some specificity about what happened 10 years ago. I would ask you to press your recollection as to what happened within the last month. Ms. Hill. And I have done that, Senator, and I don't recall that comment. I do recall there might have been some suggestion that if the FBI did the investigation, that the Senate might get involved, that there may be, that a number of things might occur. But I have to be honest with you. I cannot verify the statement that you are asking me to verify. There is not really more that I can tell you on that. Then skipping ahead to page 84, Senator Specter. Would you not consider it a matter of real importance if someone said to you, Professor, you won't have to go public, your name won't have to be disclosed, you won't have to do anything, just sign the affidavit, and this, as USA Today reports, would be the instrument that quietly and behind the scenes would force him to withdraw his name. Now, I'm asking you whether it happened. I'm asking you now only if it did happen, whether that would be the kind of a statement to you which would be important and impressed upon you that you could remember in the course of 4 or 5 weeks. Now, it's at this time that she consulted with her attorney, according to my recollection and according to my staff's looking at the tape. And then she says, I don't recall a specific statement, and I cannot say whether that comment would have stuck in my mind. I really cannot say this. Then in the afternoon session, I asked Professor Hill at page 203. To begin, if you could proceed from there to recount who called you and what those conversations consisted of as it led to your coming forward to the committee. And then, on a long answer, inserted at the end, not responsive because I wasn't asking about the USA article anymore, she says, and this appears at the bottom of 203, it even included something to the effect that the information might be presented to the candidate or to the White House. There was some indication that the candidate, or excuse me, the nominee, might not wish to continue the process. And then on the following page, 204, continuing the middle of the page, Senator Specter, so Mr. Brudnay did tell you that Judge Thomas might not wish to continue to go forward with his nomination if you came forward. Ms. Hill, yes. Now, Judge Thomas, what do you make of that change of testimony?
Senator, I think that the individuals such as Jim Brudney, Senator Metzenbaum, staffer on the Ed and Labor Committee, should be brought to hearings like this to confront the people in this country for this kind of effort. And I think that they should at some point have to confront my family.
Make a statement that yesterday I called for the Ethics Committee to investigate the matter of the leak and anything else they consider appropriate. Jim Brudney was performing his responsibilities as a member of my staff.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make this statement. Today, I've called for an FBI investigation. I think that's one you'll count. And the Republicans on this side of the aisle, all I've talked with, have agreed to sign it. All down the line, I believe. And
now, wait a minute. I'm not getting into any collateral issues at this time. I have not discussed signing anything. I do not want to have any attention diverted from this issue, which is the nomination of Judge Thomas. And the point we're on now is to where the credibility is. When senators want to interrupt, that's part of the process around here, but I'm not going to discuss that issue at this time. Judge Thomas, I went through that in some detail because it is my legal judgment, having had some experience in perjury prosecutions, that the testimony of Professor Hill in the morning was flat-out perjury, and that she specifically changed it in the afternoon when confronted with the possibility of being contradicted. And if you recant during the course of a proceeding, it's not perjury. So I state that very carefully as to what she had said in the morning. But in the context of those continual denials and consulting the attorney and repeatedly asking the question with the negative responses, that simply stated was false and perjurious in my legal opinion. And the change in the afternoon was a concession flatly to that effect. And in searching for credibility, let me add that I'm not representing that as conclusive or determinative, but it certainly is very probative and very weighty. Let me now move to another issue of credibility, which is an issue very central to this proceeding, and that is the factors relating to Professor Hill's moving from the Department of Education to EEOC, and whether she would have moved with you had you said the outrageous things which have been attributed to you. In her statement on page 4, she states, among other reasons, quote, I also faced the realistic fact that I had no alternative job. She then quotes you in her testimony. I want to be precise, so I will cite the reference, page 172. Ms. Hill, at the top of the page, I was relying on what I was told by Clarence Thomas. I did not make any further inquiry. Senator Specter. And what are you saying that Judge Thomas told you, Ms. Hill? His indication from him was that he could not assure me of a position at education. Senator Specter, was that when you were hired or when he was leaving? Ms. Hill, when he was leaving. Question to Judge Thomas, did you tell her that you could not assure her of a position at education when you made the move to EEOC?
Senator, I do not recall that conversation, and as I reflect back, there would be no reason for me to tell her that. Anita Hill was a graduate of Yale Law School, was performing well, and was a career employee. She was a Schedule A. She was not a political employee. So she could remain in the department in other capacities. There were a significant number of attorneys, both in the Department of Education generally, and in the Office of Civil Rights specifically. In addition, my successor was a close personal friend of mine, Harry Singleton, also a Yale Law School graduate. And if she wanted to stay at the Department of Education, it would have been a simple matter of bringing it to the attention of Harry.
This is Dan Rather in New York at CBS News headquarters as Clarence Thomas goes through an answer that he has basically gone through before as part of the effort by Republican Senator Arlen Specter of Pennsylvania to undermine, supporters of Anita Hill would say, destroy the credibility of Anita Hill. Senator Specter, with friendly questioning, guiding Clarence Thomas through what Senator Specter sees as proof that, as Senator Specter put it, Anita Hill had flat out committed perjury. You may have heard before he started going to whether she could have stayed at the Education Department before she went with Clarence Thomas on over to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. That's where they were going that line of questioning. But before that, Arlen Specter said that yesterday that Anita Hill had committed what he, a former prosecutor, considers to be, quote, flat-out perjury when she described in two different ways, Senator Specter called them contradictory ways, a conversation she had with a committee staff member. Now, we're going to leave our coverage of the Senate Judiciary Committee hearings on the nomination of Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court. We're going to leave those hearings because, among other things, we have a contract with Major League Baseball. And coming up almost immediately now will be the baseball playoff game. CBS News will be monitoring the proceedings and will update you right during the American League Championship playoff game number 4, which is coming up right away. So what you'll be able to do is see the game, and we'll keep you up to date on what's happening with the hearings. So for right now, Dan Rather, I beg your pardon. Well, I'm told this will be the National League Championship playoff game. And that's my mistake, for which I take the full responsibility. We'll be carrying the National League Championship playoff game, which will be coming up next. At any rate, Bob Schieffer, the CBS News team, and I will be here to keep you updated as the game goes along. For now, Dan Rather.
This is CBS.
This is the new Ford F-150.
It has a great new contemporary look, and behind its sleek new styling, you still get the toughest, most rugged truck on the road today. So whether you're using it for, or of course, then there's, oh yeah, and you just can't get more truck for your buck. The new Ford F-150, it'll help you do your work before you even get to work. Drive it at your local Northwest Ford dealer.
As your car ages, it may need higher and higher octane to perform like it used to. But there is a gasoline specially formulated to control this higher octane need while providing the highest level of engine cleanliness. Texaco System 3. You'll get great performance in every octane grade. Still think all gasolines are the same?
Saturday, 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. at Smith's Home Furnishing.
Everything is on sale.
Every furniture item, every appliance,
Every electronic item, every mattress, every computer.
yes, every single item in Smith's tremendous inventory is on sale Saturday.
Plus, no down payment, no monthly payments, and no interest for 6 months.
That's no cash out of your pocket until April of 1992.
So remember, whatever you want for your home, you'll save on.
Because everything is on sale Saturday, 9 to 9 at Smith's Home Furnishing.